Well, um, no one's on yet, but I'm just going to start off because this is actually quite hard. People are asking me about my life and stuff like that, but what I'm going to say today is actually conquering fear, because I don't know how to explain it, but like, this is going to involve authority figures. One of them went on to be an Attorney General of Ireland. Another involves a high-ranking member of An Garda Síochána. I'm not going to go into things in depth, but I'm going to give you a brief overview. Some of you watchers actually probably heard rumours about my life and stuff like that. Well, this whole crawl is about, I don't know what you call it, but it's very hard for me to talk about this. And like, you're going to find it hard to talk about stuff as well, like, but I don't want anyone to presume to know who I'm talking about, or think of names who I'm talking about, because like, you probably get it all wrong. Basically, man, I didn't grow up great. I had a shitty everything. When I was younger, like, I was alone. No one would have been around or anything like that, so I was always in my head. Even doing stupid shit now that I actually look back from doing therapy and that, it was actually, I figured out myself how to soothe my brain. I'm not going to jump forward and back in my life. I'm just going to kind of give a broad idea of where it went. But so basically, right, I'm going to go to, like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Yeah, so basically, shitty. Day I was born, shitty. I'll just leave it at that for the time being, anyway. Move on, went to school, grand, man. I didn't have everything everyone else had, didn't have homework done, all that stuff. You would have been looking around with other kids then, they would have been socialised with other people. I wasn't. I had one friend, a very good friend of mine, always with me up until I was older. Always hung around with him, made a few friends, lost a few friends, but then later on, like, people would have stayed away from me. I wouldn't have had, you know, all the stuff other kids would have had. Like, later on, then I would have been, say, later on in primary school, it would have been kind of like stuff that would have been going on at home would have been repeated to me. Like, I was in a bad place as was, didn't know. Kids being kids, that's all I say is. But like, it came from other people. They overheard it, repeat it back to me. I would have been down now at the time anyway. Then as I got older, like people would have been eating in school, man. I wouldn't have had lunch. I would have just plotted around. A lot of teachers and that stuff, like, they weren't doing their job properly. They didn't notice it. And if they did notice it, they just looked down on me. Not all of them. Like, fucking, one I want to highlight is TP O'Gorman, man. He was a legend. Very good to me. He had his moments, like, anyone that's watching this that knows him, TP was class. But some of the other teachers would look down at me, ignore what was going on. And then later on I started to become violent. I suppose, yeah, I was violent. And then I became the bad guy, and then they really looked down on me, like, I was a troublemaker, but I wasn't really. It actually got someone. I remember one incident in school, someone twice the size of me. I would have been young, like maybe in second year or second class. They would have been in sixth class, something like that. And he actually said something to me about my home, and I ended up, took me about 10 minutes to register, like, this lad is being smart, like. So I ended up breaking his 2 front teeth. What could I say? Like, I was a child. He was a child. He was an older child than me, way older. And like, my bits was 2 front teeth, and there was other teeth. Like, I was a handful. Like, I didn't calm down. I didn't do all that. My childhood had a lot to do with it, but also I had a psychiatrist tell me I'm autistic. So I think a lot differently than all of you. I think totally different than all of you. Then move on. I think one of my carers, or father, or I would like to call him, he ended up in intensive care because, well, he had a trauma to the head, is the best way of putting it, and social workers would have got involved, and when they got involved, like, there were authority figures, and everyone else was a authority figure. Like, they ended up going around in circles, and this is where your high-ranking guard and your Attorney General came into play. He wasn't Attorney General at the time. Now, this is going to cause backlash to me, but I don't care. Not going to ins and outs of it, but they stopped. One lad was terrified of something that he'd done, or something that someone had on him, and then the other lad was terrified. Now, I have half proof, because GSOC and that won't do a case because they can't get into the files that are on blacked out, and if they get into the files that are on blacked out, they can do the case, blah blah blah. But so that's how far it's come. Like, so basically, social workers were lied to. I blame social workers, and I really did blame them big time, because I didn't know what was going on in the background. I had no idea, and the little fish were afraid. This is what it's all about, afraid. They were afraid of the authority figures. They were afraid of questioning them. They were afraid of saying you're wrong. They were afraid of highlighting, maybe you have an alternative agenda here. But like, they'd go to the lad who I said was the Attorney General, now ex-Attorney General, but he was only a legal representative to HSE at the time. And he used to just sign a form, send it in a loop, sign a form and send it in a loop. And like, all my... Well, actually, I don't know. Like, all my quirks and all that could have been different. All my horror, like I don't know. I was horrified. Like, I was only a fucking child. I wouldn't have had to go through it if them adults weren't afraid of these authority figures. And I started to lose fear of authority figures. That's why I'm not afraid of any authority figure. That's when someone deals with me and they have an authority status or something like that, when it doesn't take them long to realise, like, this lad in front of them doesn't care, he'll question everything. But that's what happened. Like, they were afraid. So one lad wasn't doing his job. He was a guard, and he was doing it deliberately. I know he's doing it deliberately, and I'm not naming any names. And then the social worker was asked to do a file on me, or whatever you call it, one of those things. Basically asked the guard to find out about me. And he didn't leave the guard station when he done it. Now, this is a different guard, who would have been under a different guard, and who would have been under a different guard. But he didn't do it. He just made up crap and wrote it down. And like, you can prove it was all lies. But like, that's why the way I am. Like, I lost fear of authority and all this. And the reason I lost fear of it, because I was terrified of them. So I wasn't afraid of them. It's hard to explain. Then at this stage, I would have seen as the toad, whatever you like to call me. But I was moulded into being a toad. Like, I had no choice. Like, no one else was looking after me. The HSE literally turned a blind eye because of everything that was going on. A lot of these people are older now. Was going to take a case against them just before I went absolutely cuckoo. And what's making me do this is the solicitor and the barrister actually came to me and said, statute of limitations, we're fighting something major here. We'll take the case. We know we're going to lose it on the grounds of statute of limitations, but we'll take it. And the reason they were going to take it was because it said, if no one does this, because everyone is afraid to do this, if no one does this, it's going to happen again. And that's why I'm speaking out. Not just about what happened to me happen again, by lost in the system. It's got to do with G as well, man. Like, you're terrified of, like, he would have went to school and like someone might have a smelly pencil or something, and you wouldn't, I don't have a smelly pencil. I mean, I had not, but like, you'd be like, I didn't have a smelly pencil, and so you relay that fear onto your kids by getting them the really smelly pencil rather than teach them, don't be afraid of not being yourself. Be yourself, man. That's everyone wants to be themselves, but everyone's afraid of it. Everyone's afraid of speaking out. That's the problem. Like, everyone's terrified. Like, but I'm going rambling here. I'm trying to stay on track. Yeah, but then move on. Secondary school, the same. I used to love fighting people. I learned how to fight. I was really, really good at it. The reason I done it was because the psychiatrist that diagnosed me, he told me I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as autism, ADHD. Now, I have high function autism. It would have been classed as Asperger's. He done an IQ test on me, so up until then, he done the IQ test. I thought it was stupid. Just from everyone else, I thought it was stupid. But now I know, like, I'm not stupid, man. I have it on paper that I'm not stupid. I'm actually quite smart. But not going down the ego route there. Jeez, I'm after losing. See what I mean? This is what fear does to you, man. It stops you, but I'm not going to stop. I was in, where was I? I was in secondary school. I was really good at fighting, but I wasn't fighting because I wasn't fighting. It was because I was terrified, and I didn't realise I was terrified. The reason I was terrified was because of PTSD. Every little thing was life or death for me. So, like, if you said something to me, like even a little threat, oh, I'll hit you a thump, man, that was you telling me you're going to kill me. So I was going to try to do that to you. So fear, it was like my natural instinct, fight or flight, took over, except I was fight. I was always fight. Later on I'll explain other situations when I was younger that you might go, whoa, but I'll explain them. In school, like I was in secondary school, man, half teachers just didn't bother with me. They were just like pushing me to one side. And that was laziness. They done that because they're just there for a wage and just sign a piece of paper, go away. Some teachers were fantastic to me. Some of them brought me in privately. Actually, one teacher asked me to do an essay. I used to do that in class, and she asked a question. It was about the daffodils. I'll never forget that poem, The Daffodils. But she asked a question, and she was always, she was just annoying. Like, she was lovely, but she was just annoying. So I wrote it out, and I actually spent time doing it and brought it in and gave it to her, and she said, that wasn't from you. And I was like, it was from me. And I came for a tit for tat argument, and she goes, right, that handwriting's totally different, write it there. She asked me a question, I started writing an answer, and then she just looked down and she was like, whoa. She knew then it was me that wrote this, it was an essay, and she just turned around and she goes, I thought that was from a college student. So I was only in 5th class, and she, rather than swallow her fear of being wrong, she left it, and that just sent me downhill. But she called me back in later on, and she talked to me. Now she knew what was going on because social workers had already been in the school. I know that now because I actually have my file. That's how I know so much now. That went on in the background, and she told me, like, I have to step up, that like I have potential and I'm a waste of potential and all the rest. But it actually gave me a boost of confidence. It annoyed me, but gave me a boost of confidence. Like other teachers, like, just pawned me off and like don't listen to my version of events or my version of stories or anything like that. So like I lost all respect for them. So I had no respect for guards, lost respect for guards, no respect for teachers, no respect for anyone in government, no one. I still don't have any fear of authority figures. Might be dangerous, might not be dangerous. Like anyone that knows me, like I'll go the mile. But that was on secondary school. Then when I was in secondary school as well, like people started to notice. Like I didn't let little things go. I just kept going. And years later, you'd find me getting revenge or payback. But that was because I was afraid and I wanted to actually stick it to the man. Now, you have to remember, like, this is what I'm saying, like, I was let down by a system of people, and the social workers and all that I blamed, they were terrified of the authority figures that weren't doing their job and pawned me off. Truth be known, if I had all those blank bits out, I would actually be able to prove that there was corruption, and I don't care. The Attorney General of Ireland, he knows who he is. If he wants to do something about slander or something like that, all he has to do is come to me and open up a case, because the minute he opens up a case, that whole file gets opened and it's proved. That's not my objective here. My objective here is to tell people my story, to let them see how afraid I was. Like, I was that afraid that body language was my big thing. If someone, like I, being autistic and stuff like that, I pick up on the slightest little things. I notice things with people that other people don't. I used to go in subconsciously and then I consciously question, is this right or is that wrong? I used to get confused, and now I know through therapy and help and getting to understand myself. What to do then? Joined the army. and that was and I didn't even want to join the army. That was pure fear as well, me joining the army. That was an absolute hames, man. I can tell everyone out here now, do not join the army. I'm telling you. Unless they clean themselves up, do not join the army, because the same crack again. Authority figures not doing their job. I picked up an injury in the army, and one lad didn't believe me, even though he had doctors and MRI scans and everything. And he brought me up in charges, and I went in for something that was made up. I was set up, like, it was pure made up. But I went in front of the CO commandant, and obviously he took the higher rank version of events than me. But I stood my ground and I said, look, this wants to go to hog, because there was a camera facing the gate and I had the time I came in at. And I wanted to bring that up, and he's like, no, it's not going to affect your wages, so we're not going to let you go for court martial. I requested a court martial, because what he didn't know was, I'm always 2 steps ahead. It's just me. That's the way I had to be. That's the way I learned to survive, be 2 steps ahead. And I knew the camera had me at the right time coming in, and I'd already read Defence Force rules and regulations, and he refused me a court martial, and I knew he couldn't refuse me. Legally he couldn't refuse me a court martial, but he did. And that was me again. And this is an authority figure here. Everyone's terrified to question him. And I just left. I left without fight. I was like, it's pointless here, because your man's after refusing me his right, like my actual right in military law. He refused it to me. Even after I went up and pointed it out to him afterwards, he just kind of smiled and said, no, he's a nice man. He just didn't want to hassle. But like, that's what got me into the situation in my childhood. Like, my childhood was great because authority figures just signed their name to a piece of paper and wrote stuff, and it went around in a circle. And that causes me severe stress. I mean, big time de-stress. I want to get a drink, because this is I can't curse too much, but this is actually hard, and it is just coke I'm drinking. Yes, that's how I lost fear, authority figures and stuff like that. And I think, like, being refused your rights is a huge thing. So, like, it's back into me now at this stage. But like, that's why when I was in the lives I was saying sometimes you don't fear, and I was like, didn't want to go into not having fear, because I don't have fear of people. Like, I've been through so much. Like, I'm going to go through step by step in my life. But anyway, that was the army, and then I went on to other things I don't really touch on now. But like, my life was literally destroyed because people were afraid to do the right thing, and do the right thing would have made my life a huge difference. And like, ye as adults had fears in school. Maybe you weren't wearing, you were afraid of not having the best clothes and everyone else was sitting in, man. Don't pass that on to your kids. Maybe you're afraid of, I don't know, asking that fucking girl to kiss you, or if you're a girl asking that fella to kiss you, the fear of it. Like, fear leaves you in regret. I don't live in regret. I'm not afraid anymore. I have to be kind of careful here what I say, especially after mentioning Garda Síochána and Attorney Generals. Like, I know I'm going to get backlash for this, because I'm talking about high figures in government here, and I have other stories about high figures in government where this Attorney General came up and stuff like that, and I don't think they want what I know coming out, so they'll leave it alone. But them other people might have backlash, but I'm doing it anyway, because I deserve to be heard. And like, that's another thing, like, I deserve to be heard, you deserve to be heard, and you shouldn't have fear that's instilled with you by society, and you would have instilled fear in other people as well. Don't let them hold you back, especially in counselling and therapy, man. You have to tell them everything. For me, throughout my life, I learned how to be other people. I learned a vast array of personalities, and through therapy and that, rather than get rid of them, like, I am myself. I have techniques that I've learned. Some of them class was kind of, the psychiatrists and that understood them. I can literally change personality with a flick of a switch. Everyone else can do it as well. You do it announced to yourself every day of the week when you're interacting with someone, whether it's out of fear or just want to fit in, which would be fear as well, is one. So like them rumours you would have heard, you probably hear stories now going around after this live, but like, rather than wonder are they true or not, why don't you ask me? I'll tell you, but are true. And I have 101 stories I'll tell you, and I will tell you them throughout the York. So that's why this is about fear, because people had fear, and it destroyed my life, it destroyed my childhood, like, it destroyed my teenagers, it destroyed most of my life, like, was fear. And I took it on board as well, because I had my own stories where I done wrong through fear. I'm trying to rectify them now, and hopefully I do. I keep looking at myself in the bloody screen, like, and I should look at the camera to make eye contact. Yeah. And like I have so much stories, like even when I was going through the system with mental health through the HSC, it was an absolute joke, like it was comical. When I look back at it now, and like I don't want anyone to underestimate go through it, like, so if you thought me crawling up a mountain was the end of this when I got to the top, man, that's only the start. Like the Huff has a record of 1 hour 50 something minutes or something like that, and I didn't want to stay in that longer. Like I always want, I was mad to say this, and the Huff only adopted the cold. I was born in it, I was moulded by it, man. You're not going to beat me now. That's pretty much it. So that's why I literally have no fear. When I was younger, one of the things I done was read. Some salesman came and he convinced my mother of buying these encyclopedias. I read them all a couple of times because there's nothing else to do. That's all I do all day is I read. Like, I get fascinated by the simplest thing, and I read all about it. I got that one, read all about it. And it could be from loads of jokes, like, so I've learned so much about everything that I'm going to start putting into practice. I read a lot about psychology in the last couple of years and stuff like that, and a lot of everything I actually did do a few courses as well about mental health and that. Yeah, like, it's like an old saying, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. But a lot of people say that to people to put them down, and the people that say that to people to put them down actually aren't educated enough or smart enough to realise that they're only saying half the sentence. It's a jack of all trades, master of none, is still a better of master of one. So just remember that the next time someone says you're a jack of all trades, master of none, just remember putting that extra line just to put the cherry on top. If you have any questions, pop them up here on the screen, because like now's the time you're going to get answers. Like,
I missed that.
The freeze, I don't even know about charities or anything like that, but I'm going to do something. As for the backlash from this, from any authorities' figures, I don't care. I really, really don't care. I'm always 2 steps ahead of you. You're just going to open up a can of worms that you really don't want to see, because, like, come on. I'm not even going to go there, like, but it'd be interesting. See, that's my defence mechanism kicking in there, and that's PTSD. Not PTSD, I go over PTSD, but that's my defence. It's kind of like I actually feeling threatened by saying all that stuff, because they're seen as such powerful people in the whole lot. I myself feel threatened, and because I feel threatened, I'm kind of like, right, come on. That's my defence mechanism. I'm going to leave there because it works. That's pretty much it. But if you've watched this and you've actually listened to me, the beginning and the ramble, and you want to make a difference, man, share this. Man, like, everyone's going to share it, man. Like, these are 2 very powerful people. One of them, who that Attorney General I was on about, he's actually not Attorney General anymore, but he's in another very powerful position. So share it. Let them know, like, eventually karma comes back. Even that little 4-year-old, 5-year-old child that you just tick the box and send around a loop. Well, that's me. You probably don't remember me. I remember you because you made such an impact in my life. You destroyed it. That's really it. Like, so. I know it's a negative life, but positivity and negativity, they're yin and yang, to come together. If I can actually speak about this in a broad version without going into detail, you can conquer fear too. Thanks for listening.